Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program 2, where we are on our way to this burn position. We are, of course, going to be circularizing for our rendezvous with Kerbin, which we're not ready for just yet. We have to circularize. Our timing was not great on the return from Elu here. But we're in a pretty good position. We've got 1,800 meters per second to go on this burn, and we've got 4,200 in the tank on this stage, and another 10,000 beyond that. So we're not having any Delta V issues, of course. We rarely do at this point, and even if we did, we could bring another tanker up here, no problem. Although we wouldn't want to be in this orbit. It would be awkward to try to rendezvous it, but we could do it. We certainly could do it. So we're just going to continue forward here. We're about 3 hours away from our burn point. And at this point, it really doesn't matter when we commence this burn. Now would be fine, but I am going to warp ahead a little bit. We're 2 minutes, 1 minute away, 30 seconds, 20, 10, and 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Excellent. This will be about a 1 minute burn, which is really not too bad. We're going to decelerate quite a lot, by almost 2 kilometers per second. Of course, down at the periapsis here is when we're going the absolute fastest. So this is definitely as quick as we're going to be going for now. And then we're going to come into Kerbin after this. So we need to find ourselves an encounter. That is the next mission here. Speaking of the next mission, we need to figure out what exactly our next mission is. And it might be the go to pole mission. It probably is. And I think we'd use this same exact design, including with the rover, because I'm interested in seeing where all the rover is bugged. We've run into that bug issue on Lathe and Elu now, but we've not run into it anywhere else we've tried to use a rover. That said, I haven't tried to do any extensive roving. So that's definitely something to consider. We've got another 20 seconds of burn here. If we hop back into the map, we can take a quick peek at what our orbit is looking like. We're down within the orbit of Dress at this point. Looks good. And of course, our overall... Okay, this is definitely broken, our orbital info here. But, of course, our overall time per orbit has dramatically reduced from out in Elu land. No doubt about that. So we've got about 8 seconds left in this burn. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to call that good. Slightly early according to the maneuver node, but we don't trust the maneuver node, so that is fine. Now, if we were to do a burn sometime around here, what would that look like? Is Kerbin currently our target? I'm not sure it is, actually. Let's zoom into Kerbin here. I don't think we have an ascending and descending node right now. So we're going to have to reset our target here. Set as target. There we go. That's what we're looking for. Beautiful. So now we're going to bring this guy right on in to about here or so. Okay, that's pretty far off. Noted. So we're going to have to bring this around to about here or so. That gets us an encounter. 1,100 meters per second to do that. That's fine. The question is, well, we don't really care about coming in prograde or retrograde here. That doesn't really matter. But I do want to drop this down ever so slightly. There we go. That did not go well. Okay, we're going to have to pull this in a little closer. Then drop it down. Boy, that inclination change is not doing much. Okay. Noted. Do we need to do a radial for that? That would be weird. Apparently so. Okay. Well, that's fine. We're now in an encounter with the moon, and I don't necessarily want that. To be clear, we're probably not going to hit this particularly exactly, so I'm not going to be too awfully fussy about this. We're just going to put this somewhere around. This is possibly an impact trajectory. Actually, it's not quite. We do have a moon encounter there, which I don't necessarily want. Let's pull this out of the moon encounter, and we'll just do something kind of like this. We'll fine-tune it a little bit later on. For now, we know that we're not going to hit this particularly accurately just because of the way that the maneuver nodes work in this game. So we know that we're going to have to dial that in a little closer. That's fine. So this will be absolutely okay. We've got a 37-second burn slated for us here. And let's see what encounter we end up getting out of it. That'll be very interesting. This burn will, of course, happen in a while, so we're going to have to rotate on over and then warp. Cool. So off we go here. And we'll have to warp for a while, naturally. Excellent. This should be... Are we going to have to warp for longer than this? No, we're not. Okay, beautiful. That looks good. So next up, we've got about 3 more minutes to warp here. 2 minutes. 1 minute and 20 seconds. 10. And 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Cool. So again, this will be about a 37-second burn. And let's go see what encounter we're going to get out of this. So let's hop into the Kerbin Sphere of Influence. And hopefully, this won't be too awfully bad to get this dialed in. We are going to run out of fuel in our outer stages, and I think that's going to be part of this, isn't it? We're going to have to separate as part of this burn. I think so, yeah. We've got about 1 ton of fuel left in each of those outer stages for the time being. We might have enough, actually. I don't know. It's going to be really close. Okay, I cut the burn there. This is the encounter that we have right now. Cool. Let's go over to normal, because I want to raise this up to be a little bit more equatorial. And we've still got 88 meters per second here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off all of these engines again, because we're going to be fine-tuning our orbit here. And we're going to thrust limit this down to about 10% thrust, I think. Somewhere around there. Okay. So we've got 94 meters per second in this. Sure. So using that 94 meters per second, we should be absolutely fine to bring this in. So I'm just going to bring this guy up a bit. That is not the speediest thing in the world. Okay. Well, it is happening slowly. Can we open from here? No, we can't. Right-clicking on this does not, in fact, change that. Noted. So I wish that we could change our amount of engine power from this screen. Because it's a fair amount of navigation to get here, is the thing. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to time warp it. Really? It won't let me time warp it because we're approaching out of fuel orbital event? Okay. Very rude. Well, I guess we'll have to crank up this engine a little bit then. Going to bring it up to 50% thrust. Okay, now we're going to have to navigate back to Kerbin. We'll have to zoom out because we're at minimum zoom. Then we have to head over to Kerbin. Then we have to zoom back in. Okay, there we go. So now we're at 5 times the thrust that we were before. And that looks pretty decent. Now, I think it's going to be prograde that we need to burn to bring this in from here. This is pretty close to where we want to be. Let's see if it's prograde. I don't know if it's going to be prograde or retrograde here, but I think based on our maneuver messing around with, I think it's going to be prograde. Because I would like to bring this in a little bit closer here. So we're at about 20,000 kilometers away. This would be good enough, in theory. But we only have 19 meters per second of fuel left in these side stages, so we're definitely going to want to be a little cautious with this. Yeah, prograde is correct. So that looks good. I'm going to focus on Kerbin here. Uh-huh. Well, now. We're going to have to head over to anti-normal. Apparently, we're a little overburnt in the normal direction. Okay, good to know. So anti-normal will drop this back down, and then back to prograde to bring this in. But it doesn't actually matter that much. We don't have to be equatorial here. There's not really a reason to be equatorial. I just want to bring this periapsis a little closer. So that'll be fine. Okay. Just watching our Delta V here. Okay, we are now out of fuel in these side tanks. So I'm going to ditch the side tanks. Goodbye, side tanks. Boy, that was awkward. I'm going to get us a little bit of distance here. There we go. Cool. Now, of course, we need to head back into Kerbin here. So back in we go via the rather tedious navigation. And we're going to head in over here, pin open our periapsis. And let's drop this right on down a bit. Cool. Somewhere around there, and then we'll go back to prograde. Because I want to dial this in a little further. We're still 1,600 kilometers away, so we want to bring this in a little bit more. We've got 10,000 Delta V here, which is hilarious. We have so much DV in this thing. It can go literally anywhere, except landing uneven, taking back off. That's something that this can't do. Which is unfortunate, because we're going to need to do that at some point. But let's just lock this over to prograde and start dialing that in a little bit. That was very sensitive. Okay. Noted. That was incredibly, incredibly sensitive. Let's thrust limit this down to 1% thrust again. And back we go to Kerbin eventually as we attempt to zoom out here. We head over to Kerbin, and we head to Kerbin. There we go. Let's take a quick peek at this periapsis, and this is currently 381 kilometers. It's better. It's not exactly where I want it to be yet. Down to about 100 kilometers. And 75 kilometers. That'll do. It's not exactly equatorial, but I don't actually care that much. So this is fine. This is absolutely fine. I'm content with this trajectory. So now, of course, we need to warp in to around here. And we'll need to warp a little further than that, but I just want to get us a little closer together in the system. So that'll be fine. Kerbin comes right on around. And we're going to, of course, want to warp to here, which is not quite within the sphere of influence just yet. But it is close. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to warp to here, which is about 3 hours away. Oh, we are, I'm not sure what we're looking at here, but we're not focusing Kerbin. Okay, there we go. So that looks good. 76 kilometers, huh? And the game isn't sure whether we're in the system or not. Oh, okay. Can we warp a little further, please? Until we're sure that we are, in fact, in the system? Okay, thank you. That's perfect. That's probably some sort of a floating point issue. Okay, so at this point, I want to commence a braking burn about here. Nice retrograde burn. Oh, we're on 1% thrust. Can we not be on 1% thrust, please? Thank you. Okay. Back over to Kerbin we go. This is not Kerbin at all. Back over to Kerbin we go. There we go. And I want this, of course, to be a nice braking burn about like this. What does that put this periapsis at? And I don't actually care about ComSat 1, but I don't know of any way to close this. So, what is this periapsis at? 42 kilometers? We can actually continue to bring that down. That's fine. We can target that periapsis at somewhere around like 10 kilometers would be absolutely fine, and we can just bring ourselves right on in. Okay, so we are aligning for that braking burn. That'll be another 1259 meters per second. Not too bad. And we are aligned, so let's warp on forward. And down we fall. I'm going to go into surface mode because I'm curious on what our overall speed is. Okay. That's not too bad. 3,500 meters per second. Yeah, that's not bad at all. Cool. So we're about 2 minutes away here. Okay. I overwarped that a little bit. 10 seconds away, though. 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. And let's bring this right on down. So we're basically at the periapsis right now. So 3,500 meters per second is the fastest we were going to come in. Now, to be clear, that is because we did those orbital maneuvers around Kerbal. If we had come in on the initial approach and not circularized, this would have been way faster. But that's fine. We would have had the fuel for it. It's not a concern. Keeping an eye on that periapsis, I just want to burn basically where we are right now until this periapsis is at about 10 kilometers. I don't actually care about this maneuver node. It doesn't actually matter. We're in orbit at this point, and that is what is important. So that looks good. We are going to be seeing our apoapsis and periapsis flipping around fairly soon. But it does need to drop down a fair amount first. We're still quite elliptical at this point. Okay, 500 kilometer apoapsis, 400, 300 kilometer apoapsis. Our periapsis is now officially in the atmosphere, and we're primarily reducing our periapsis at this point. 30 kilometers, 20, and I guess 7 will do. So at this point, we've got 9,278 meters per second left in this thing, and that doesn't really matter. We're 4 minutes away from our apoapsis at this point. We're going around that way. Okay, we're going to be landing on the dark side, it looks like. Unless we want to brake further. Which I suppose we could do. And just bring down our horizontal speed as much as we can. So that would end up being something kind of like this. Whoa, what was our camera doing there? I'm not entirely certain. But that would end up being something like this. I want to position ourselves about right here. There we go. And we're just bringing this apoapsis down. I want this to be on the day side, ideally. So we're just going to continue to brake horizontally here. We've got lots of delta V for this sort of maneuver, so this is deeply, deeply unscary. We may have to do a braking burn as we go down through the atmosphere here to make sure that we're going slow enough for our parachutes. We'll see if we want to pull that one off. Also, I'm going to move this guy up to here. Okay. So this is looking solid here. I want to continue to brake for a little while. I'd like this to be a water landing, and we can guarantee that. So, and in fact, this is 100% going to be a water landing at this juncture. So that's fine. We are currently in ground altitude mode. In sea level mode, we can see, yeah, we are indeed going down. That's not shocking. And I'm still just busily burning off some of this horizontal speed. Cool. So this is all fine for the moment. We're moving fairly slowly right now. And we'll definitely be landing on the day side, even a fair amount away from the Terminator, although the sun will be low on the horizon at this point, once we get down there. That is absolutely fine. So we're currently moving at about 1 kilometer per second without any aero braking. This just goes to show how much extra fuel we had. We still have 8 kilometers per second, by the way. We could probably go back to Elu and come back again, or close to it. As long as we were relatively efficient and cautious with it. Okay, this is decent as far as the burn goes. I'm going to position us at retrograde at this time. And we're going to be accelerating here. We're certainly going to want to burn again as we enter the atmosphere. Maybe once we get down to about 40 kilometers or so. As a re-entry burn, just to slow us down enough to get our chutes out. Because we can't necessarily rely enough on drag when we're coming down this relatively straight. There's not a lot of air between us and the ground coming in at this trajectory. So we're going to have to rely on our engines to do a fair amount of that braking. And that's fine. We are now in atmosphere, and we're getting some amount of drag, but there's not a lot at this point. So we're up to 1 kilometer per second and continuing to accelerate. This is not surprising. We are currently at about 60 kilometers altitude. Cool. 55 kilometers. And 1,100 meters per second. We're now at 50 kilometer altitude. And our engine is losing efficiency as we go down as well. Keep that in mind. 45 kilometers. And starting the braking burn now. This is really more of a re-entry burn. You can see here, our surface velocity isn't going down all that fast, but it is going down. So that looks good. We're going to be burning here for a little while. Until such a time as our chutes are available, which I'm going to consider to be like, I don't know, 400 meters per second or so. Something along those lines. We're currently about 20 kilometers up. Continuing to decelerate. 800 meters per second. 700 meters per second. 600 meters per second. Cutting engine. Getting chutes out and... What the? What just happened? Why did the ship just explode? The ship should not have exploded there. That's clearly a bug. There's no reason for an explosion. Okay, let's go back to the autosave. Which is here. Looks like we are doing our re-entry burn, I think. That should not have exploded there. There's no reason for an explosion at that point. All we were looking to do was get our heat shield exposed. That should not have caused an explosion. That is a clear bug. Okay, so this is our re-entry burn here. Yes, that is indeed what we've got going on. So I'm going to do about the same burn, although I am going to change this a little bit. We're going to move this guy down. It's just a little cleaner. And I'm going to continue this burn until about 700 meters per second, like we did before, at which point I want to get the heat shield out here. Okay, cutting engines. This is what should have happened last time. Okay, beautiful. I guess we could retract this ladder. But yes, this is what I expected to have happen. And you can see we dramatically slowed down due to the drag from the heat shield. So that's wonderful. We can get out our chutes now. This was the way this was supposed to go. But the Kraken ate our ship. I mean, that's pretty normal in KSP, to be fair. Especially in KSP 2. So, downward we go. We're completely safe here. But yes, that was definitely a clear case of the Kraken. That's some nice alliteration, actually. Clear case of the Kraken. I like it. Fantastic. So we're going to pop down to the ocean here. This is absolutely fine. Yes, we did throw away quite a lot of fuel there, but, I mean, that's to be expected, and it really doesn't matter in science mode. So that is fine. Cool. Why are Kerbals blinking at wildly different speeds between their two eyes in warp here? Do they do that in normal mode? Like at normal speed? Oh, they're rocking back and forth. I'm going to turn the SAS off. Apparently they are blinking their eyes at separate times at normal speed. Interesting. Well, that's exciting. So we're just going to head on down here. We're still like a kilometer up, and we're traveling at 3 meters per second. This is a little overkill in terms of the chutes, but this was intended to land in much thinner atmospheres with a much heavier load. So that's fine. We could, I suppose, cut some of these chutes, in particular the drogues. We'll do that, and that should accelerate us a tiny bit anyway. Wow, with SAS off, we are still oscillating quite a lot. SAS on actually manages to slow that quite a bit. Okay. Well, we're still about 600 meters up and traveling at about 3 meters per second, so this is going to be a little while. We can cut this chute, and then also cut this chute, bringing us up to 3.4 meters per second. It's a little better. In actuality, what I should have done, though, is waited until we were lower to activate our mains. Drogues higher up is fine, mains less so. But we're only about 300 meters up now, and we'll be down fairly soon. Just slowly wafting on down. I don't really want to cut any additional chutes. I think this is fine as it is. So that sounds excellent. We'll recover this, and we'll get a bunch of science from it. If we check our science checklist, our research inventory here, we can see, yeah, we've got a fair amount. That'll be a few thousand, for sure. Wonderful. And we'll get a few thousand more from completing our mission, too. So that is all great. Okay, 40 meters to go. 30 meters. And 10 meters to go. And splashdown. I still don't know why the ship blew up the first time we tried to separate it. That's not how this works, but whatever. We'll recover our vessel and head on back to the KSC. That will get us a bunch of science, 15,543 to be precise. Let's hop into mission control here, because we need to complete Ride the Wave, which is going to get us another 8,000 science. Amazing. Cool, thanks, science. So we've got these 3 missions now. Okay, activate a jet engine on Lathe, a sample survey of the strange fossil on Bop. That's probably where we're going to go next. But for now, we're going to hop into the R&D because we've got 23,000 science to spend. And that's not enough to get everything, but it's much closer. So let's just research things quasi at random here. That's what we can grab for the moment. Okay, looks good. And with that, it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we're going to head off to Bop. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings. And a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Atala, Andy McGar, Ali Lee, Dark Horse, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Tommy Kintogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.